Hi everyone. Very excited to be here today to present for the second time at Tech Now Day. My name is Kushlani De Silva. I'm a marketing strategist and consultant, and happy International Women's Day to everyone here today. I'm here to talk to you a little bit about personal branding and the impact that you can create through personal branding for your community, and in turn, how the community can help you with your personal branding as well. So I'm based out of Colombo, Sri Lanka. You can kind of see me over there from one of our very famous beaches here in Negombo. I've been working as a technology marketer for the last 12 years, and I've been in the corporate world for most of my career. And then about a year and a half ago, I moved out to pursue consulting as a full-time career, and that's what I've been doing, working with technology startups across different cycles of their marketing journey. And that's one of the motivations for me to be a part of this event as well, being sort of a woman in tech myself. I also contribute to the Sri Lankan technology space in various forms, in speaking at events, getting involved in content creation, and so on. And I'm a fitness and crime novel enthusiast, which is what I do during my spare time, and something that I really enjoy. And I tend to carry a little bit of that inspiration into my working world as well. So let's get started. First of all, what is a personal brand? Now, when you think of personal brands, a lot of us, whether it's people who are trying to build their personal brands, or even corporates who are trying to build a corporate brand, any brand, we tend to think through this large, long process of, how do I define who I am, what I'm doing, how I'm adding value, and so on. But very simply put, a personal brand is basically everything that represents you. Like, the picture that you can see here, if you're someone who really likes sneakers in bright colors, that's part of your personal brand. So very simply put, if you're trying to build your personal brand, if you're trying to figure out what really is my personal brand, it's very simply all of the characteristics that come together, both from a professional and personal perspective, that sort of combine in order to establish who you are. So for me, my personal brand would be, I'm a marketer. Everything that you saw in the previous slide, right? I'm a marketer. My focus is technology marketing. Right now, I'm a consultant, so I'm a small business owner. And, I'm someone who likes traveling. I'm someone who likes to read. And those are all of the elements that come into what your personal brand is, if you look at it very simply. Secondly, why do you need to build a personal brand? What is the importance of a personal brand? So again, if you're in the tech space particularly, you would know that the tech space is quite diverse, right? And especially even movements and initiatives like Women in Tech. The reason that all of these have come together is because of the importance of building brands. And I say that because when you have a personal brand, when people are able to identify you with the kind of value that you can bring to the table, with the kind of experience that you have, with the kind of projects that you're working on. Again, being in tech, it might be the technologies that you're familiar with, your style of coding, maybe some of the industries that you worked for, the spaces that you're comfortable with. So any of that can come together in building a personal brand. And why you need this personal brand? Because it helps identify you among a whole mix of other people, other personalities, and other individuals. It really helps to identify who you are. And secondly, once your community, because remember, you're trying to brand yourself within a bigger space. So once somebody has identified you, the next step is them being able to appreciate you for the kind of value that you can bring to the table. So again, if I were to just take myself as an example, my focus or my niche is technology marketing. So once people have identified that I am a technology marketer, then they are going to, through the activities that I do in order to build my brand, they're going to appreciate that I can add a certain level of value to what they are trying to do because of my expertise, because of my exposure, because of the tools that I've worked with, all of that familiarity. And then it is after that they will want to engage with you, because they see that there's a certain level of commitment, of passion, of expertise that you can bring. So if you don't have a personal brand, and if you're coming into a community, and communities are very large, right? Just like I've represented there on the image here, there are so many moving pieces, so many people with different personalities, different expertise, looking for different problems to solve. So without a personal brand, people aren't going to be able to identify you. They're not going to know what sort of value you can add. They're not going to be able to appreciate your expertise and your experience, and maybe even your passion into a certain area or a certain technology, or a certain industry, for example. And as a result, they're not going to be able to engage with you. So coming into a community without a personal brand, or not having a personal brand in general, means that you are losing out on the opportunities to connect with other personal brands, with other people who might have a lot of value and a lot of input to help you, and for potential collaboration as well. So thirdly, what is the journey of a personal brand? Like I was speaking about at the beginning, for once you figured out, okay, this is my personal brand, these are my key characteristics, here are the communities I want to work with, here's how I can add value. How do you go about building your personal brand? So the first thing to look at is, how do you add value? And that's really looking at yourself and at your strengths and what you've been doing over the past, what you want to do in the future, and then really figuring out what is the value that you can add. If you're a coder, for example, what are your core technology specialities? What sort of products have you built in the past? Do you also have expertise with marketing, for example? Do you have expertise in UI UX? Have you done a little bit of product management? So how do you add value? That's the first step to figuring out the journey of your personal brand. How do you add value? Next is, where do you add value? And how you add value and where you add value go very closely, but where you add value is more to do with what communities can you add value to, what industries can you add value to, what segments within bigger communities can you add value to. Again, there can be a lot of niches within bigger communities, within bigger industries. So where do you really add value? You're adding value as a developer, but in which domains and in which technologies do you add value? Next is, who can you add value to? This is also again important, especially in larger communities, because you need to know where to make where the engagement happens, and that is when you can really make the most of your personal brand, both to the person who you're talking about, as well as to you. So who you can add value can be different people. So for me, I would usually look at having conversations, building my personal brand around technology companies, particularly startups and scale ups. And how I add value is through my expertise being in technology marketing, and now having a consultancy practice of my own, and being able to distill that experience. And the who I can add value to is, I would look at CEOs, co-founders, other technology consultants, and those are the kinds of individuals or the kinds of communities that I would look at in my journey of building a personal brand. And by looking at all of these aspects, it really helps you with your personal branding message. Like, which aspects of your personal brand, both visual and non-visual, are you going to talk about? What are the channels? Because you need to know where your community is in order to figure out their channels. If they're very present on Twitter, then that's where you need to go. If they're on other forums like Reddit and Quora, then that's where I need to go. If they're the sorts of people who go to events, then that's where you need to be. So in the journey of building a personal brand, and I call this a journey because it never stops, because your personal brand also is something that will evolve with time. So once you figure out how you add value, where you add value, and who you can add value to, it will really help hone down your messaging, your channels, and your community as well. And then just to talk a little bit about the role of the community. Now, we tend to use and throw around this word community quite freely, because in our minds, sometimes community would be anything which represents a large group of people. But community goes a little bit more beyond that definition, because communities are places where you can learn, you can connect, and you can collaborate. And the first thing, I think, once you've figured out your personal brand, and once you've built your personal brand, and you've established that, okay, I am offering this kind of service, these are my strengths, this is who I want to offer it to, these are the kinds of companies that I can collaborate with, these are the kind of companies I can provide my experience to, and learn from, then you're going to want to go into different communities. And the good thing about communities is sometimes you might be within a community with no intention of building a personal brand. Maybe you join a Quora or a Reddit community, or you join a group on LinkedIn, or you're on a Twitter community. And as you see other personalities talking about what they do, about their value additions, that is actually inspiration for building a personal brand. So this process doesn't flow from, okay, I'm going to build my personal brand and then I'm going to work within a community. No, it can even be the other way. You can be part of a community and then be inspired by everything that's happening around you, and as a result want to build a personal brand, which I think is a really good way of even establishing the importance of communities that much more. So let's say you're someone who's never thought of a personal brand, and you're in a community. So I'll talk a little bit about both sides. So when you go into a community, the first thing that you should do, whether you have or whether you don't have a personal brand, and whether you've not done that process or not, is first take the time to learn. Take the time to learn the dynamics of the community, what sort of conversations are happening, how are people engaging, at what rate are they engaging, what are the conversations like, are there any conversations that you feel you can contribute to, what are the what is the community really built on. I'm sure there'll be any set of values and kind of grounding principles for every community. So first of all, learn about that. Even before you try to engage, I would say spend a couple of weeks just being in that community and learning what it's all about. Next, look at connecting. And it is in this connection part that personal branding is really important. So if you don't have a personal brand at the time of entering into a community and working within a community, have conversations and connect with people and say, and these can be people who might be your peers, these can be people who can be a potential employer, a potential client, if you're a consultant or a business owner like me. But take the time to connect with those people and have conversations. And in those conversations, you might really have unearth a lot of information that would actually help you go out there and build your personal brand. And once you've connected, think of collaborating. This is another thing that I want to emphasize in communities is some of us want to go straight to the collaborate part when you're in a community, especially if you've got your personal brand all figured out. You might go in thinking, okay, I know what my personal brand is, I know what my goals are, I'm going to go straight into collaborate. But it doesn't work like that within communities. You have to take the time to learn, to understand the dynamics, to make the right connections, and to collaborate. Otherwise, it looks like you are in the community purely for the sake of getting business, or trying to find a new career path. So in the collaboration, that's when you can, once you've had the conversations, once you've engaged with people, and remember, collaboration and connecting and engaging, it shouldn't just be one way. For example, if you're on Twitter, so Twitter is a community that I personally love, and I use it to stay in touch with the latest trends that are happening in marketing, and all of the content that gets shared. So if you're constantly going to be in a community and then just talk about your personal brand and what you can do for others, that's not going to work either. You have to engage with others. You can comment on whether it's commenting on posts or asking questions, or raising sort of comments on ongoing conversations. That's all a very important part of this learn, connect, collaborate. So what I have seen particularly working is, once you've figured out your whole personal brand, or if you're in the process of figuring out your personal brand during the community building process, and both go closely in line, make sure that you're taking elements of your personal brand that are applicable to that community. Because if you have different aspects of your personal brand that are quite diverse, but you're in a community that's more of a niche, then you need to only take the elements of your brand that are applicable to that niche or to that community and talk about it there. And the good thing, or the great thing really about community is once you have your personal brand and you're part of a community, is that they are very easily able to identify you. Like I mentioned earlier, they're able to appreciate the value that you can bring in, and then they'll want to collaborate with you. So again, if you're looking for career prospects, or if you're looking for clients, for the opportunity to work with different clients, your personal brand really helps you stand out, and it will create trust and confidence in the minds of the people who want to talk to you, and who want to have a conversation with you, and sort of get into working with you. So if you're, again, just to kind of reinstate, the goal or the process shouldn't be build your personal brand and go into a community. That's why I've designed this session to talk about how both come so closely together, and it doesn't have to be one after the other. It can happen at the same time. So the goal really is to be involved in as many communities as possible that are relevant and right for you, but look at how you can really leverage your personal brand in order to make the most of that community. So what I would recommend is look at the kinds of look at your goals. First of all, your goals, whether it's from your career, from a business, from a growth perspective, look at all of your goals, then go into sort of your personal brand and what you want your personal brand to be. And personal brands are also something that evolve over time. So it can be something today, and maybe a year down the line, you want your personal brand to change. You want some of your community aspects to change, and that's fine. And I think as women, for us particularly, having strong personal brands and having strong community networks is all the more important. So as some final tips, just make sure that you know your goals before setting out to go into any communities or building brands, building your personal brand. Know your goals, then figure out what sort of communities will bring you closer to those goals. Go into communities with an open mindset, without simply going into it driven by those goals only, because communities present so many learning opportunities. And then look at your personal brand. Don't complicate the process too much. Think of everything that represents you. Think of the value that you can add. Think of the who and the where you can add value. And then go into communities with the intention of learning first, then connecting, making the right connections, and ultimately collaborating. That's all I have for this session. Kept it very brief because personal things like personal branding and community are discussed at length with so many different perspectives, and this is my perspective, and this is an approach that I've taken, and something that I've seen become quite successful along the way. So I really hope you found the session useful, and that you enjoyed it, and you got some inspiration for going out there and creating your personal brand and being parts of communities as well. That's my LinkedIn and Twitter. Would love to connect with all of you, and even have a conversation if you're thinking of building your brand and looking at how you can engage with communities. So thank you. Thanks very much. Once again, really excited to be here for the second time. And enjoy the rest of the event, and stay safe. Thank you.